Okay, so we're here. The whole point of this podcast is to talk about one game that we have yet to talk about.
Right.
Welcome to the best games.
You picked Team Fortress 2. Clearly you have hundreds of hours in this game.
I currently, including my Xbox 360 time, I have 1,200 hours into Team Fortress 2.
Oh my gosh.
That is not an exaggeration.
That is a staggering amount of time.
I love Team Fortress 2. But it's also my first love because, as I talked about earlier, I wasn't ever a PC gamer, and so Team Fortress 2 was also my first introduction to multiplayer, online multiplayer.
Yeah. How is your Team Fortress 401k looking?
I do have several amazing hats, also several keys.
I'm sure.
I have a Bills hat. I have several keys. I have I have some specialty items that I've been saving, but of course I haven't played Team Fortress 2 in a year, so it doesn't matter.
I remember reading at one point that the Team Fortress 2 hat economy was at one point valued at over $50 million.
I believe it.
It was a big deal, I remember.
I think it's still huge, though. More people than ever are playing that game now since it's free to play.
Well, hats are a mark of prestige, and because hats are purely cosmetic, they don't do anything to your character. Mm-hmm. All they do is show how good you are in the game, and those people who have those amazing hats must be amazing. And you think it really wouldn't matter in gameplay, but for me, I mained medic.
Yeah.
I love being medic, and medic is all support. And so as a medic in Team Fortress 2, all you're looking to do is find the best player on the team and make sure that they are healed. And when you see someone with this amazing hat and they have particle effects coming off of it, and it's a rare hat, that's the person you heal because they're the good player.
Yeah.
So it's this visual representation of how good a person is at a game.
Right. Which actually comes into play in the strategy of the game.
Really does. It really does.
So I'm also curious because we rarely actually, the three of us rarely talk about the game outside of the podcast. We kind of let it become a surprise when we record. But Daniel and Jeremy, have you guys played a lot of Team Fortress 2 or?
Oh, Jack has 1,200 hours into it. I have at least 12 minutes.
About the same here, actually.
I am so terrible at multiplayer games that it's just not even funny. Yeah, so I've played it a tiny bit, died several times, and
then went back to Portal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that to me that was my initial experience as well, because I had never played, I had barely played first-person shooters, because I was a console gamer, and playing with a gamepad is usually a big no-no. But with Team Fortress 2, you get this, so it's a class-based multiplayer shooter, and so you have these different classes, and there's a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors mechanic, where one class will usually be better at another class by default. So, for example, let's say you start playing as the scout, and everyone starts playing as the scout because he's a really fast character and he can double jump and he has a cool shotgun.
Yeah.
But you get your ass handed to you all the time by, say the heavies, which has a big machine gun. Well, if the heavies are killing you, you can switch class to the sniper, and the sniper can kill a heavy in one shot. But if the snipers are causing you too much problems, you could be a spy, and the spies are really good against snipers. And let's say the spies are giving you too much trouble, you can be a pyro, and the pyros are really good at dealing with spies. And, there's this wonderful... Once you start playing with all of the characters and realize that every character kind of has a weakness to another character, and...
Well, it's like a giant game of rock, paper, scissors.
Of course.
But it's perfectly balanced.
I really think it is, and it's just one of those things that really encourages a diverse team, and the entire game centers around everyone working together. It's one of the few online multiplayer games that emphasizes teamwork, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think the only one I've ever played where I felt like it comes remotely close to just kind of inherently fostering that sense of camaraderie and teamwork is probably Rocket League.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
And
so.
maybe like League of Legends or Dota or something like that, but the only time I've ever felt the same way is probably in Rocket League, playing with strangers.
Yeah, Rocket League has an amazing ability to kind of understand what your teammate is doing without them saying anything.
Yeah.
You just see what direction they're heading, and you see where the ball is, and you know exactly what they're going to do, and you can get like passes without ever talking to each other. Absolutely.
Or you just scream at them because you're like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing?
Or the ball bounces off of every ceiling and wall 5 times and accidentally hits you, and then you make a goal, and it was totally on purpose and not an accident at all.
So, both Jacks, you guys clearly have more Team Fortress 2 time than Daniel and I do.
Yeah.
Did either of you play the original Team Fortress mod? Or did you just jump into the one from Quake, I think? Or was it Doom?
No, the original one was the Quake mod.
Yeah.
And then the Team Fortress 2 was Source Engine.
Well, they had the original that was Quake mod, and then they had Team Fortress Classic.
Yeah, that one.
Which was on the Source engine. And no, I never played any of those just because I never had a computer that was able to when they were out.
Okay.
And, and then all of a sudden I'm at a game store and I see this weird thing called the Orange Box.
Oh, my goodness.
And, it was like a year after it came out when I bought it in like 2008. And, it was $15. For $15 you get Half-Life episode 1, 2, and 3, Portal, and Team Fortress 2. And I was like, oh, $15. Oh, I've heard great things about this Half-Life game. I guess I'll give that a try, and all of a sudden, Team Fortress 2 is there,
And the Orange Box is probably, in terms of just games bundled together, is probably one of the greatest collections that you could get.
I don't know if we'll ever, in the digital age, we will never see something like that again.
Yeah, no, we won't.
It's mind-boggling. All the Half-Lives, all the Half-Life 2s. Portal, a game that was... Portal was on the Orange Box because no one believed in Portal. I hope people understand that Portal was thrown on at the end, and now Portal is its own franchise. But at the time, it was, I guess we'll put Portal on this Orange Box to make sure that some people play Portal.
Yeah, exactly. And we had a Portal versus Portal 2 episode, actually. Okay. Because sometimes we like to just arbitrarily decide, this game's the best game and this game's not as good. Because it makes people mad.
Although we did meet somebody in the grocery store tonight that noticed my Aperture Science shirt that I had on, and he said, great shirt. And I said, which is better, Portal or Portal 2? And he said 2.
Well, he
is correct.
Oh my God, no, you're incredibly wrong. Portal is...
I agree. See, here's the funny thing about that. Right after he said that, I'm like, heck yeah, it is. And then it took a second, and I'm like, wait a minute. I voted Portal 1.
Basically, that entire episode was me swaying Jeremy to my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
me trying desperately to keep him on my side. Yeah.
And failing.
All Portal 2 is a watered-down version of Portal 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Portal 2 is great. Listen, it's still it's watered down greatness. Portal 2 is still great, but it's nowhere that Portal 1 was.
So, Team Fortress 2.
Oh yeah. Sorry, forgot.
Well, yeah, like I don't have 1,200 hours in Team Fortress 2, but I have 400 hours into it.
Okay.
It's a respectable amount, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I played it a lot while I was in college because I was able to just kind of sit down for a few minutes, play on my favorite servers, and then leave. Mm-hmm. If I had a few minutes in between classes or something. And I mained the Sniper. Sniper was my jam. And the Engineer. I really like the Engineer too. And I just... It's interesting because the class gameplay is so well tuned that any single class that you pick feels completely different than the others. when you play the sniper, it's like a completely different game than when you play the pyro or the spy or the medic. Like, there are just so many different facets to Team Fortress 2 that I really have only grown to appreciate more over time.
They've interwoven, like, you know, in every game there's usually the meta game, like, you know, the game that we make up for ourselves.
Right.
And so, like, as a sniper, like, let's say you were just playing any bumblefuck first-person shooter, and you're a sniper. Your meta game is how many headshots I can get.
Yeah.
That's it. And you know, like, you're not caring about helping your team or whatever the objective is. I just want to shoot people in the head. But in Team Fortress, like, headshots count as bonus damage. And so that inadvertently helps your team. And so the meta game of the headshot rolls into the team play. And so, like, you know, for me, I mained medic, and like my second main was engineer. But like for medic, the only meta game was how many Ubers you can get. And of course, you know, the Uber was the big push. That was the game changer in Team Fortress 2. And so, like, but this is for every class. Like, for the scout, jumping around and not getting hit or using your bonk, and for the pyro, air blasting rockets away. You know, you'd get all these tiny little games that players would normally make up for themselves. They integrated into team gameplay.
Right. Well, I think there's also a part that I think is really important not to overlook, and that's when the game came out. I feel like multiplayer in 2007, this was completely an unheard of, like, art style, like, unheard of sense of humor. And absolutely doing all these things. So like you say, running around with your bonk, like, you beat people to death with a baseball bat. That's called bonk. Like,
no, well, and you know, even way back in the day of 2007,
which is almost a decade ago now.
And that's very sad for old man Jack. But that's fine. The internet wasn't what it was, and gaming wasn't what it was. And so even the fact that we had a online only multiplayer first person shooter was amazing. There were very few of them at the time. But I think that Team Fortress 2 was one of those few that got it so right. And you could have, like, you know, the in-jokes that you could get in a server, in a game, were amazing, even with nobody talking. You know, there were tiny little things, you know, like, as far as, like, taking and dropping the intelligence. For Capture the Flag, it was the intelligence in Team Fortress 2. Yep. And so, you know, you'd have to go to the other base, capture the intelligence, and bring it back to your base. And there was always, if you were dominating another team, there was always an in-joke of purposefully dropping the intelligence in your base and forcing the other team to come to your base and get killed more. And it was great. And it was all these little in-jokes that you could understand so easily. Now I'm just gushing. I'm sorry. I'm not talking critically. I'm just gushing.
Well, like, I think a part of that in-jokeness, and I think this is something that a lot of multiplayer shooters just in general tend to lack in favor of just moment-to-moment gameplay, is when you're on a server for a long period of time, there are people who stick around for several matches, and I'm someone who really values narrative in games, so it's kind of weird to me that I actually love Team Fortress 2 as much as I do, because it's just straight gameplay for the most part. But in that gameplay, they have, like, you develop stories. Like, there's, like, I remember distinctly when I was playing on this one specific server, I developed, like, this rivalry with a sniper. So every time I logged on, I would choose, like, the enemy team, and we'd have these sniper wars. And, like, other snipers would, like, try and get in, and then they'd just die in the crossfire. But it was like, you know, our own little mini sniper drama, and we'd silently, without talking to each other, kind of developed our own little rules. Like, if we were playing on two fort, we wouldn't do that thing where you stand in the corner. You had to be in the middle. And
Sure,
so
sure.
we'd just have these little sniper wars in the middle of Two Fort.
It was your own enemy at the gates.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's not something that's unique to me, because while I was kind of doing a little bit of research to prepare for this podcast, I ran across this quote from Tom Bramwell, who reviewed Team Fortress 2 for Eurogamer back in the day. Mm-hmm. And he said, It is a game where even a day's worth of play could fill a website's worth of anecdotes. Standing at the top of a tower trying to avoid demo man rounds while heavies mount the stairs and spies attempt to get behind you is a science fiction Helm's Deep.
No, it's incredibly. I had the same thing with like scouts, in Two Fort. Two Fort is the classic map, mm-hmm. and like even everything about Team Fortress 2 is so precise and wonderful. So every map in Team Fortress 2 is a mirror. Yeah. And you have your blue team and you have your red team. And every map has two sides, and those two sides are an exact mirror of the other side. And so when you leave one map on the blue team and you leave that same map on the red team, it's the exact same base, and that's beautiful. But also with the classes. So like, you know the enemy's base perfectly. I had that exact same experience, like you said, making little stories with a scout trying to steal our intelligence on Two Fort, and I was the engineer. And the scout would sneak in once and stole our intelligence once in this very specific manner. So I set up my sentry in the perfect spot to catch the scout, and that was the rest of the game. It's just that like my team didn't matter. Whatever they were doing didn't matter. It was just me versus this scout. And it was beautiful. But also I think the game encourages that. Like, the game has a domination system where if you kill the same player 3 times in a row, you dominate that player. And then whenever that player sees you, you have a special icon over your avatar. And so that player, even if it's more important for them, for their team to kill someone else, they see that star over you and they're going to want to kill you.
And that's genius.
That's genius. It adds this unspoken personal element to gameplay.
Yeah.
Where beyond the objective, beyond my teammates, this motherfucker has killed me 3 times in a row, and that is my metagame now.
Yeah. And honestly, looking back, so I went back and looked at old reviews on this. It's sitting at 92 on Metacritic. Mm-hmm. And reading through the reviews, most of them didn't really bring up any flaws. And so I'm kind of I was kind of looking through these reviews and just wondering why, like the few flaws that, and I say that in air quotes, that people pointed out or that they didn't really like was that in Team Fortress 2, they took out grenades that you could use in the original Team Fortress Classic. And a lot of people missed those, I guess. But sure, I also listened to just a little tangent here. Team Fortress 2 has developer commentary tracks in it. And
Yep.
I want every game to have those. Why? Like, just do that, game developers.
Seriously.
That would be fascinating as someone who likes to know about this stuff. But Team Fortress 2 has these commentary tracks, and the developers talk about the decision to remove grenades. And they did that because people spammed grenades all the time. And, if they were going to die, they threw all their grenades. If they, people would just camp a door and throw grenades through the door until someone died. And it just ended up being not that great of a mechanic that made people have less fun, and new players had less fun. It was harder to get into the game because grenades were everywhere.
Of course, but they also dealt with it in the most perfect fashion, which is instead of everyone has grenades, we will create a grenadier class.
Right.
One character who has all the grenades. And, the demo man is pretty easy to counter with a pyro. Mm-hmm. But the demo man is also one of the most fun characters to play because all he has is grenades. And, he's really important and he's vital to the team, especially if he has a good medic with him. it all goes back to that balance, and it's like, fun, teamwork, and balance, which is, like, it needs to be fun and you need to be able to do well at the game, but you also need to be able to have your ass handed to you when you're doing something dumb.
Right.
I was just going to say, I can't imagine the amount of fine-tuning and testing that went into balancing that correctly.
Well, you can.
To get all those classes to play well
You can.
together.
It took them 9 years.
Right.
Yeah, 9 years worth of balancing.
Right? This was one of those notorious, what do they call it, like vaporware games, right?
Vaporware.
Where everyone talked about Team Fortress 2 as if it was that one game that was never, ever going to come out. And when it did, it was just kind of perfect. It wasn't completely perfect. But, I mean, even now with all of the extra weapons and all of the extra maps, I love the maps more, mostly because I really love payload maps, the move the bomb along the train track path maps, and that was not in the original game. But I prefer vanilla weapons. I want all characters to use their base weapons, just because I think they're the most well thought out.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me, like, that this game was put on the same level as Duke Nukem Forever. Like,
well, same category as vaporware. I don't know.
Right.
Well, they showed it off in 1999 at E3, and then went silent about it for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And
listen, this is the same company that still hasn't released Half-Life 3. They do what they want.
Well, it's kind of like a little test case of, Valve's development process, where they just don't say anything until whatever they're working on is done, however long that takes. And they can get away with it because, they own Steam. So they're fine in money department. Like, they can take as much time as they want doing pretty much anything.
They can also get away with it. The results have generally been pretty good.
Right.
By the time, when the game does come out.
It's not Duke Nukem Forever.
Right.
Also, just fun little thing, the Gaben meme came from Team Fortress 2.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we have that to thank for Gaben.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's from the it's actually
loses a vote in my book for that.
It's actually from the commentary tracks, because he at the end of like one of them he mentions, "My name's Gabe Newell and the spy's my favorite class. You can email me at gaben@valve.com."
Nice.
And it's an audio track, so of course people took that and remixed the crap out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
To kind of roll into the end of Team Fortress 2. I was just talking about kind of like I prefer vanilla loadouts.
Yeah.
The duality of Team Fortress 2 is I got into PC gaming because of all the neat stuff you could do on the PC version of Team Fortress 2. But that was eventually the downfall for me.
Really?
Is there was too much.
Oh, okay.
Too many updates. Yeah, I mean, of course, I have 1,200 hours into the game, and I've gotten my money's worth over and over and over again.
Yep.
But, just more weapons, more maps. Some of the maps don't work. The conga line, for me, was the end of it, where something wonderful that Team Fortress 2 had, unlike other multiplayer shooters, was the taunt.
Yep.
And at any moment in the game, you could press a special button, and then your character would taunt, would do a funny little dance. But while you were doing that funny little dance, you couldn't shoot anyone or move. So it was a special thing where if you killed someone, you could taunt and say, haha, I killed you, but then you were vulnerable to a kill.
Was that the first game that did that?
I'm going to say yes, just because I don't know any better.
Nice. I like the confidence. Stick with that, kid. It'll get you far.
Absolutely. Well, like in Halo multiplayer, you had the notorious teabag.
Yeah, you could teabag.
Where, you could crouch over someone, but you could still move and shoot and stuff while you did that. But Team Fortress 2 penalized you for taunting. And I thought that was amazing.
Or it was the ultimate expression of how much better you were at the game than someone else, because you could actually kill people with your taunt too.
Exactly. Yeah, some of the taunts were one-hit kills, which was great. The later on in the series, they came out with this taunt called the conga line, and it was a wonderful taunt where you could start conga-ing, and then anyone else could join the line and you could get your entire team to conga. And then there became the conga metagame where no one would actually play the objective because we were all having fun conga lining. And the other team would join in. And at first it was kind of really cute. Where it's like, oh, both teams are coming together and congaing. How silly is this? Okay, let's get back to the game. Okay, guys, let's get back to the game. Okay, back to the... No? You want to still conga? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what started actually my not playing anymore is the in-jokes became too prevalent and the meta games became greater than the actual objectives, and everyone was using a new weapon that I wasn't familiar with, and it became too much.
Yeah, that was actually kind of my experience too. Not so much the conga line, but just the amount of weapons that got added, where I just like, oh, this weapon does what now? It's like an instant kill automatically with no charge up time for a headshot. Oh, okay.
And how do I need this other very specific weapon to counter that? How do I get that weapon? Oh, I need to sell hats? What?
Yeah.
There was some like wonderful knowledge through gameplay that you learned in vanilla Team Fortress 2. Where like you could just be a pyro and immediately be better than a spy. That rock paper scissors. But as they added more weapons, you needed more knowledge to know how to counter those weapons, and so the rock paper scissors became rock paper scissors hard drive keyboard sniper rifle. It became just too big of a game.
How do I counter the hard drive sniper rifle? Who knows? I don't know what a hard drive sniper rifle is.
You have to counter it with Tiki Head, and the only way to get Tiki Head is if you sacrifice 3 Glorp Nips.
Oh, the Glorp Nips, that's right.
And unfortunately,
the Glorp Nips, yep.
You can only get the Glorp Nips during the special Halloween events. And so if you want the Glorp Nips, you actually have to pay money on the special Team Fortress 2 market.
Yeah.
So
I will say though that I do think Team Fortress 2, after it went free to play, I think that it's probably one of the best examples of how to do a free to play game, right? Like
Absolutely.
it did unbalance a lot of things, but at the same time it's still not a pay to win game. Like you can't buy, at least I don't think you can just go out and buy a weapon that's just objectively better than what anyone else has.
No, I mean, there are weapons that are better. I'm trying to remember this. The scout axe that has the barbed wire around it is just immediately better than the default axe. But any weapon you can get through random drops.
Right.
And there are specialty servers that are vanilla servers. And you can just search that through the server database. Like, I want to play a vanilla server.
Right. And
you can play with original Team Fortress 2 weapons and original Team Fortress 2 rules, and it's beautiful. So I 100% agree. It is still one of the best free-to-play games, and its decision to go free-to-play injected so much new blood into the game that it really needs. Because, if you have any sort of multiplayer online game, it only works if multiple people are playing it.
Yeah.
And we needed that kickstart. We needed that influx of new blood to keep the game going. And it really did that. It kept it alive for years after it should have been dead.
Right. Well, and then the things that they did with it to monetize it after the fact were pretty genius. Like the whole special events that you could still participate in, but you could pay I forget, $5 to do the hardcore Manco missions or something like that.
Really, didn't that just release a timer where you could? I never did any of the man versus machine stuff.
I just did a little bit of it. I didn't pay for it, so that's why I'm a little bit hazy on the details. But it was, for the most part, my understanding is that the free-to-play model is just people basically buying hats and cosmetic stuff.
A lot of it is that most of the economy is based around keys. You know, you can get these random drops of treasure chests.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so you can pay for keys to open the treasure chests, or you can randomly get enough hats and turn those hats into keys. And so like there's always the point is there's always a way to do it for free.
Right.
You never have to pay any money, and that's beautiful.
I mean, I want to talk about, if we can, I'd like to talk about this game's influence, and I think we touched on it with the free-to-play aspect, because I think that game really kind of showed exactly how you can do free-to-play right.
Or at the very least, how to transition into free-to-play from a pay model.
But also, beyond just the business model, I think the gameplay has had a big impact and influence on a lot of other games in the industry since it came out.
Well, you know, we're about to see two huge examples of its influence, right? Like Overwatch is coming out soon, and Battleborn.
Exactly.
Two, you know, class-based, online-only, first-person shooters.
Oh, sorry. Did you play the Battleborn? It just had a beta recently.
I have not. I haven't played any of the Battleborn or any of the Overwatch because I don't like betas. I want to wait till a game is done.
Yeah. I've played a little bit of both, and so far, if I had to choose one, I'd go with Overwatch.
The rumors on the internet is that the Battleborn is the lesser of.
It's not bad, at least from what I played. It's just not balanced well.
The way you say bad makes me kind of think it's bad.
It's like I didn't have a bad time playing it. It's just that there are some the assassin characters especially. It's the kind of game where they can get on you, and if you're not the right kind of character, they are going to decimate your team, and there's very little you can do about it.
He didn't have a bad time playing it. He just didn't have a good time playing it. I downloaded that beta, but never actually played it. So
I think on the whole, Overwatch is much more like Team Fortress 2, and I appreciate it that way.
That's what it's looking like.
And Battleborn is more like something like League of Legends, and I just don't think it works as well. So, sorry, got off on a little...
No, that's perfectly relevant. Well, you know, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out how... It's kind of the same way that movies and TV shows are going now, which is everyone is scrambling to figure out how to make money with their product. And you know, the one key component that no one seems to want to admit that really matters is it has to be good. And you know, everyone's so obsessed with microtransactions and freemium and play to win and you know what, maybe if we could have ad supported, then we could make some money. It was, how about you just make something good that people want to pay money for?
Well, yeah, but that's hard.
It is. It is. Well, and you know, like it's really tough because, you know, like basically everything Valve has ever made has been wonderful. But Valve got their start because they were millionaires because they worked for Microsoft. And so they had the freedom and the money to take their time to make something beautiful.
Yep.
And you know, so it's like it's hard to use them as the place head, as the figurehead of everything that's good, because they had an unfair advantage starting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a more recent example, it took Clash of Clans to make Clash Royale happen. And people really respect Clash Royale, surprisingly, for what it is. I'm surprised at how many people actually think that's a good game. I haven't played it myself, but I'm just, you know, impressed with, and everything I hear about it, it sounds like the same kind of free-to-play type of game. Like, you can enjoy it without putting money into it, but you can have just as good a time and not break the game for yourself if you spend a little bit. And that's Team Fortress's influence. I think.
Hopefully it is. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's that, and then people learned from Zynga, right?
Yeah.
People learned from that company kind of imploding on itself.
Exactly. Right. I mean, you can't just pump out bad games. They have to have some sort of merit.
Mm-hmm.
And they got away with that for a long time. Just
Too long.
while I was looking up stuff about this, I discovered the cutest little story about Team Fortress 2.
How cute was it?
Okay, so the guy who voices the sniper in Team Fortress 2 and the lady who voices the announcer, who is also the voice of GLaDOS, they are a couple. And they're an adorable 62-year-old couple. And they are just the cutest thing I've seen in a very long time. Like, all the pictures of them are, like, super happy. And apparently, they record like their music together. Like she's a opera singer.
Yeah.
And so there's even like a song that she composed for Portal 2 that never got put into the final game. And it's nice. I don't know. Just look that up.
That is a cute tidbit.
They're an adorable little couple. Their names are Ellen McLean and John Patrick Lowry. So, yeah. They're great.
So, Jax, do you guys feel this is one of the best games, period?
What do you think?
I mean, not that you're a hive mind or anything, but, you know, do you separately believe that this is one of the best games, period?
He's on to us.
All Jacks agree.
Even the one in the bush behind Jack's house.
Ooh, first of all, excellent callback.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think that Team Fortress 2 has set a standard for multiplayer games that very few have matched in any genre. Like the teamwork, incorporating multiplayer play voicelessly. The ability to communicate without the need of a microphone and a headset. All of these things are present in Team Fortress 2 and have been for the past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that legacy of quality gameplay and teamwork will prevail in multiplayer online only games.
I would say that it's the gold standard of multiplayer games. This is, if you ignore World of Warcraft, which came out in 2004, Team Fortress 2 is probably one of the longest running multiplayer shooter games, maybe besides Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike and Team Fortress 2, both made by Valve.
My kid still plays Counter-Strike countless hours every week.
But outside of those two games and World of Warcraft, how many multiplayer games, let alone multiplayer shooters, do you see people playing 9 years later?
Right? Oh yeah, no. Take a look at top played right now on Steam. Team Fortress 2 is in the top 5.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's incredible.
Of course, it's incredible. So is it one of the best games ever? Absolutely. Is it slightly tarnished by its own age? Absolutely. It's The Simpsons, where it's still great. It's just kind of heaving under its own weight.
Like a metaphor for my life. And body.
You were all jarbled there. I didn't hear that at all.
Oh, it was funny, trust me.
I laughed. So,
Great.
could just be the Blue Moons.
You'll have to
talking.
listen to the full episode to find out what I said.
So you both would agree?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at longevity, if you look at the value it's had for other game developers looking to make multiplayer things, like you said, Jack, it sets the standard. Like, for the industry, it's set the standard for almost a decade now. And I just feel like going forward, if Valve keeps giving it updates...
Well, let's even think beyond Team Fortress 2. So, Team Fortress 2 was the way that Valve tested its free-to-play market.
Yep.
Because the game was basically done. Let's make it free-to-play. Let's see if that sticks. What other things has it tested for Valve? Source Filmmaker.
Yep.
A free 3D graphics filmmaker that anyone can use right now with any graphic. You can make an entire movie with Source Filmmaker for free.
Yep.
Boom. All Team Fortress 2 assets available. You can import your own assets. It has gone beyond multiplayer gaming into a testing ground for new and interesting ideas.
Well, and even beyond just for games, I feel like it kind of pioneered, cross media for video games a little bit. Like there's Team Fortress 2 action figures that are marketed to kids, and now you see, of course, Minecraft marketing to kids everywhere. But I feel like Team Fortress was a little bit ahead of the curve on that one.
Mm-hmm. The comic books.
Comic books, yeah.
The little video shorts of characters. You would never expect something like that with Doom Guy. Even though there were Doom novelizations. That we're going to pretend those don't exist.
Did you read those?
God, no.
Okay.
But, they were finding new ways to inject life into the series, and all of them were crapshoots because the game was already successful and had already run its course. And so if any of these ideas wouldn't have worked, it wouldn't have mattered because the game had run its course. But they put enough time and effort into all these tiny little things that it just kept using the defibrillators on it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is it's been around so long. It's going to be something that, I don't know, if like in 50 years there's a video game museum, like a well-respected one anyway. Mm-hmm. Team Fortress 2 would have a little exhibit in there.
Absolutely.
Permanent, or like they would show it like in April.
No, it needs its own wing. Like not only is its own thing, it's a weird sequel to a game. So like it's a sequel to a game, so there are people who are still playing Team Fortress Classic that look down on Team Fortress 2, and there
wasn't even really a game. That was just a
mod, right?
Yeah.
Well, it came out as its own official thing, but it was mostly just a mod. You still needed Counter-Strike. Oh no, Counter-Strike was itself a Team Fortress clone, and Team Fortress was a Quake clone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone get on the clone bandwagon here. But there are kids now who are just getting into multiplayer gaming who don't give a fuck about Team Fortress 2. And, they might hear this podcast and think we're a bunch of angry old men talking about the good old days of gaming, but then Overwatch will come out and hopefully breathe new life into well-balanced, class-based multiplayer first-person shooters.
In 10 years from now, they'll be doing holocast about that game and wondering how it even came about.
Well,
absolutely.
And just for people, I know this debate has been settled for a long time, but I feel like when it comes to like multiplayer-only games, people are quicker to dismiss them as kind of like works of art, or like dismiss their artistic merit. This game is gorgeous. I don't think we've mentioned that really, but Team Fortress 2 is stunningly beautiful for being a game that came out 9 years ago. That's crazy.
They made the so we're going to switch into Uncanny Valley. Which is, our graphics for modern video games are getting wonderful, but you can never look as good as real life.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're just not at that state yet. And so Team Fortress 2, who wanted to look more realistic in its early development days, decided to throw away realistic graphics in lieu of an artistic, cartoony presentation. And it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and not only is it like the perfect amount of cartoony, it's actually like based on serious artists, which surprised me, like Norman Rockwell, which people will recognize from, I don't know, I associate him with like Thanksgiving posters. Or like, you know the poster I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not that Thanksgiving posters are a thing. But
and doctor's
like I
offices.
associate him with Thanksgiving for whatever reason, because there's that famous painting he did of like a family sitting down and carving like a turkey or something.
I actually collect Thanksgiving posters. I don't know what you're talking about.
I
thought
like
they were a
Norman
thing.
Rockwell quite a bit. I know what you mean, Jack, but it's just more.
Brain, why did you say Thanksgiving posters? It's not
Weird. That's weird. Why don't
Yeah.
you- Well, their cartoony art style led to the most perfect artistic direction of any game, which is the what do you call it? The shadow rule or the silhouette rule with Team Fortress 2, which is you can tell you can tell the enemy you are about to face by their silhouette alone. And so, the heavy has these giant shoulders and tiny little legs, and the sniper is very thin, and the engineer has a tool belt. And so even seeing someone from a distance, you know exactly the enemy that you're facing, and the bright popping colors makes your enemies stand out against the background, and it affects gameplay when you are playing a multiplayer game in such a way that if they were going for realistic shades, wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, and I think it's also like the Team Fortress 2 for me has hands down the best character design in any game, like any game period. Just because when you look at them, not only are they each distinct, but just visually, even if you've never played Team Fortress 2 before, you understand kind of what their deal is. Like,
Yes.
you understand the heavy is going to have more health because he's a huge guy than someone like the spy who's thin and, wearing a hockey mask, like, who's going to be probably weaker and sneakier.
Well, and if you showed anyone, even someone who has never played a video game before, if you show him the picture of the spy, and the spy has this, well-tailored button-up suit and like a ski mask covering his face with a butterfly knife, you show anyone that picture, and they will say that man is a spy. Done. You show someone a picture of the heavy without his gun, his trademark minigun, from Predator, the one that Jesse Ventura uses. and you say, what type of gun do you think this person would have? And they're going to say, that man has a minigun. Like, they reach down to the bases of character design and its simplicity. It's beautiful. It's the best game ever.
Cool.
Is that what this podcast is called? Did I just
best game
Best
period.
It's the best game, period.
There you go. It's okay. We do that all the time
great,
too.
yeah.
Heck, even Overwatch with its little shorts that they've been releasing before the games come out, like that's Team Fortress 2.
Oh yeah, that's right from the same playbook.
Yeah.
Well, and whenever I hear
Crazy.
someone discuss Overwatch, they discuss it in terms of Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, the Tracer character, that's the scout. That's the fast-moving character that can do this and this and this. So that's the scout. And this character is the sniper. And this character,
Yeah.
It's just... Team Fortress 2 is not just the best game, period. It is now the benchmark and the reference point for all other games to come after it.
Yeah, like I feel like once you've gotten to the point as a game where, or really as anything in any, area of media or whatever, when people are saying, "Oh yeah, that's the Citizen Kane of blank," or well, maybe Citizen Kane is a good movie because everyone's like, it must be pretty great because everyone's using it as a reference for something that's great. It's a shorthand for that. And when people are able to point at something like Overwatch and they're immediately going to Team Fortress 2, then it must have some good qualities.
It does. And it might be too much for new players to get into at this point. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but also at this point, it's pretty easy to find out if it's too much for you because it's free.
It's free and it can run on just about any computer.
I mean, I think maybe I'm going out on a limb here. It could probably run on a Raspberry Pi. Like, It's not an intensive
with
game.
the right settings, and you had the right Raspberry Pi. I'm sure that's possible.
Probably a U.S. bank ATM it could probably run on.
I don't know. I'll have to talk to my contacts at Diebold about that. Diebold's an ATM company, just for those who don't know.
Which is everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I would know. I work in security at a bank, but that's okay.
I got
Whatever.
it. The main... I mean,
that's the reason I'm here is to...
You all saw the viral video of someone running Doom on an ATM machine, right? That's
that's why I always make that joke.
that was the original reference
I
point.
make that
got
joke about every game.
So, let's wrap this cookie up, eh?
Yeah, it's
All
late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm old.
Jeremy's seen
Let's
for the
see.
first time. I have it written down in my phone.
Oh, congratulations.
Which makes it even more sad because I thought this was actually just bad because it was off the top of his head.
No, it's
Nope.
bad because I have it written down and you two always just interrupt me whenever I'm trying to read the script. But anyway.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well. Jack Packard, Jack Gardner, Jeremy Brown. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight on this adventure. I like to say that because it makes me sound more important than the rest of you. And thank you, good listeners, for joining us and for joining us for episode 23 of the Best Games Period. If you like the show, please let us know and share with your friends so that they know how awesome we are. You can follow us on Twitter at Best Games Period, and you can find the show on SoundCloud, Libsyn, iTunes, Game Informer, and Extra Life. It's never a bad time to sign up for Extra Life to raise money and awareness for the Children's Miracle Network, so go do that now and be a hero.
Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
I totally have
Hospitals.
hospitals written down here, too.
Learn to read.
Wow. It's never a bad time to sign up for Extra Life to raise money and awareness for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals and be a hero for some child in need.
Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
You can also watch video versions of each episode on YouTube, which is my personal favorite way to consume the show. But anyway, come back next week for what should be a very interesting discussion on Tetris. You know Tetris. Everybody knows Tetris. But anyway, until next time, thank you for listening to the Best Games Period. Jack Packard, seriously, thank you for putting up with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Where can people find Jack?
Where can we find you, Jack?
Oh, I thought you were going to know. No, that's you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at Harlack, Harlack, or you can follow us at Previously Rec, which is Previously REC, or on YouTube, Previously Recorded, which is a video game show that I do with my good friend Rich Evans. Or you can go to redlettermedia.com and watch us talk about old bad movies, watch our friends Jay and Mike talk about new movies, and every 3 or 4 years watch Mr. Plinkett talk about some movie or another.
The next one's coming out tomorrow, right?
Where exactly are you so we can stalk you? Wisconsin.
Well, my address is... No, and the next Blinker review, this is an exclusive for the podcast, is actually coming out tomorrow.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
can you believe that?
I can not. It's just too
You
much.
shouldn't. That's something that we always tell people, and it's always a lie unless it's not.
But really, thank you for joining us.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, that was a
Really
fun
enjoy
talk.
your videos series.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for having me on. This was good.